When a game gets announced, your first feeling is, okay, are people going to like this? Are people going to get excited about this?
You've got a secret. You know, a little bit of a secret, and you want to share it with everybody because everyone's going to be super excited once it comes out.
The atmosphere in the office is just incredibly hectic.
I had a little bit of anxiety because that's normal, because that's what happens when you're about to announce something.
Everybody here is excited about this. The real question is, are they going to appreciate it for what it is?
The things that we think about and get really anxious about in the continuation of, you know, such a big franchise like Borderlands is always are we providing something in the game that fans are going to react to and want?
Sometimes I'm a little nervous that people will look at this and say, why isn't it Borderlands 3? Because we wanted to tell more stories that take place in the world that's here. And also between Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, we're trying to give them something for everyone who still has their consoles and still wants to play more Borderlands, you know?
I have no idea. Because I know we wanted to do something with the Bandit Bus. That was always the intent there, was that they made something. This takes place chronologically after Borderlands 1. That could literally be the blue bus from Borderlands 1. They just stole it, or however. Yeah. The idea that they somehow got a hold of that bus and then threw bandit crap on top of it is pretty good.
The idea for the pre-sequel basically came about where Randy Pitchford worked something out with 2K where we wanted to make another Borderlands game, but also wanted to be able to work with 2K Australia to make it, basically, something that we wouldn't make entirely internally.
They finished up BioShock Infinite, and they had some bandwidth. They wanted to know what their next big adventure was.
We felt like there was just a lot more that we could be doing in the Borderlands universe, and the idea of another standalone experience had come up.
It really came from a sort of mutual momentum to the logical place of what can we do that would be fun and cool, tell a cool story, and let us work with these really great guys in Australia.
If we continue with that flip,
yeah,
here it won't be able to aim at you, it won't be able to shoot at you because it's not facing you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's fine though, because that was the original problem that we were having. If we tried to turn him around, he would wig out of it.
The AI component only supports 3.
That's
so
what I
start,
thought.
a loop, and an end. So unless Pat codes in something specifically for its support for animation, so it looks good, we needed 3 parts. But that's why I was saying you could...
2K Australia was actually formed as Irrational Games Australia way back in 1999. We're celebrating our 15-year anniversary this year. Same as Gearbox, it's a kind of a funny coincidence. We just kind of wrapped up 10 years of development on BioShock 1, 2 and BioShock Infinite last year, and that's when we came about working on this game, Borderlands, the pre-sequel.
The way it generally works is, I think a lot of the design and narrative stuff is handled over here. We have a lot of really talented art guys over in Dallas who handle a lot of the direction, which we then kind of implement over here. So there's a lot of different studios working on this, and we have to sort of juggle between it, but it seems to work pretty well.
We've found a lot of similarities between the way we work, to the point where our strengths just come out naturally.
I never would have expected that Australians would get along really well with Texans. There's just something between our 2 studios. We seem to get each other pretty well.
It's very important that we reach our goals every week, because at this point there's nothing that we can say, oh, well, we keep it for later, we'll see that later, because there won't be any later. If there's a time in the project where everybody needs to give everything, it's right now.
Gearbox is enabling Australia to really bring their creative vision to it, but Australia is respecting the experience and everything that Gearbox has done to build the brand.
I mean, I am happy to take some credit for Borderlands generally existing. I'm actually really proud of that, but it doesn't exist without Gearbox and the team, the people, and there's some really cool stuff that shows up every day. You go peek over someone's shoulder or wander in the designer room and see somebody building something that I never thought of, never imagined. It's 2 great teams working on this project, doing some really, really fun and cool stuff. Between Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, we have this really interesting story that we've never told.
There are a couple of quests in this game that are just ridiculous.
In Borderlands 1, the moon is a solid piece of rock. In Borderlands 2, it's all cracked and damaged. There's a space station up there. Handsome Jack is taking charge.
It's fun delving into his character and getting to see another side of Jack and understand his story. I'm super stoked to bring that story to the players.
The moon is a great place for this game. It establishes a whole new set of promises for a Borderlands game.
The place that gave us the most freedom to really do whatever we wanted was somewhere that lied between Borderlands 1 and 2.
Between Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, we have this really interesting story that we've never told. In Borderlands 1, the moon is a solid piece of rock. In Borderlands 2, it's all cracked and damaged.
Something kind of changed up there. When people play Borderlands 2, there's a Hyperion space station and there's lava cracks all over the moon.
The Australia guys really wanted to explore that. And we thought, yeah, we want to explore that too. And also, all our fans wanted to go to the moon.
So we basically decided to play around with what you can and can't do in a Borderlands game and sort of push the envelope of like, what if you could go to the moon and have freeze guns and have laser guns and have all this crazy stuff. These things that we've never tried in a Borderlands game before, would that still feel cool and would it still feel like a Borderlands game? And the pre-sequel was an attempt to sort of take some risks and answer some of those questions, and then hopefully we've succeeded.
Yeah, because I did notice in my testing as well that if you like blood rushed up at a guy with a jetpack or something and you missed because he moved out of the way, you can get some serious height, which is very fun, but maybe the art guys will kill us if we let them play.
Even before we started working on Borderlands, as we saw message boards and everything, like people wanted to go to the moon. That was our very first goal in this game. It opened this massive wealth of opportunities of us to kind of change up the gameplay.
It's the same Borderlands gameplay they really, really like, with some new twists that actually change the game more than you would think.
Yeah, you can jump really high, you can use the oxygen for jetpacks, you can use laser weapons for the first time in a Borderlands game. And those are the really fun things that you could only do on the moon.
We should do some sort of weird Easter egg if you hop in through there.
Oh yeah, if you could like make it up here and like jump around from piece to piece and somehow avoid all the lava explosions.
Yeah, it could be pretty sweet.
It's actually Claptrap, he's hiding back there.
Right.
The low gravity feels completely different. It adds this completely new dimension to the gameplay and it changes up the combat spaces. It's giving our level designers this freedom to kind of go crazy from their imagination.
We didn't want to just kind of have like, you know, floaty jumps and then have people like stuck in the air for ages and things like that. And we did like a playground early on to try and work out how can we make gravity a really interesting and fun dynamic, and looking at creating levels with a lot of verticality and a lot of platforms that were high up. And after our initial kind of experiments, we just kind of settled on something which actually turned out to be really fun. We solved the problem of being floating in the air for ages by having this kind of slam kind of ability.
My thoughts on Butt Stomp is that Butt Stomp is hilariously fun.
The butt slam is just a wonderful piece of gameplay.
It's just called a slam, technically, but I have to call it a butt slam. It's just too much fun to say that.
Was it butt slam or was it butt stomp?
It's all the above.
It's interchangeable.
There's nothing like being in the air and being able to just drop down on somebody and stagger them and do a couple shots and headshots and suddenly they go down, and it's just a blast.
Send our meanest, grittiest men to grind a vault hunter to meaty dust. Was already on it.
The cryo weapons have been a really fun one for us to implement.
One of our programmers really early on was really keen on creating some kind of ice-shattering kind of tech.
We actually have this really cool system that will freeze enemies. So initially when you start shooting them, they'll start to slow down, they'll start turning a little bit blue, but then you can actually freeze them solid. And if they're frozen solid and you get their health low enough, you can actually shatter them. You can either run into them and melee them, they'll shatter into these beautiful ice shards floating off. But also one of my favorite things to do is freeze someone from above, then slam down and shatter them.
And we'll also work with like laser weapons, where if you have a laser and you slice through a guy that's made of ice, it'll actually fall apart into two pieces. You know, so that kind of combined with the low gravity and other things, it's really changing the way that you play Borderlands, and I think players are going to really like it.
They're really going to enjoy it, and the payoff is going to be huge for them.
Well, you become one of the Vault Hunters, one of the heroes that's sort of working with Handsome Jack during his rise to power.
Everybody loved Nisha. She was this character that we all regret killing off. Spoiler.
She's worse than Handsome Jack in many ways. Like, she just enjoys strangling puppies.
Claptrap's a little bit of, a little bit incompetent. He's a little bit of unpredictable.
His action skill is lunacy.
Oh, cool. Athena. She was this badass warrior type. What if we played as her?
So it's a really interesting timeline, and it's really fun, and it's really eye-opening.
When it came time to do the pre-sequel, we were trying to look for characters that could show up and do really cool stuff, but also had a context existing beforehand.
So what we did was we looked at the characters who were actually around Handsome Jack at the time and said, are any of these characters that we'd like to turn into something? Are any of these characters worth exploring?
And so what we landed on, we got Nisha, the Lawbringer, we've got Athena, we've got Wilhelm, and of course, Claptrap. There's 2 female characters, there's 1 male character, and there's a robot.
It's about reflecting people as they are in the world, as we are in our fans, and people as they are, right? Initially, when we built this universe, said it's going to be diverse, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be culturally diverse, because culture is something we adore.
I got some feedback from Zach on the Sugar Wraths and how we're going to have the Wrathids attack the player, so I'm going to try out a couple of suggestions that he made, including giving them a lightning tether. It could be funny, so I'm going to try it.
Well, you become one of the Vault Hunters, one of the heroes that's sort of working with Handsome Jack during his rise to power.
And his closest lieutenants, it was very clear in Borderlands 2, were Wilhelm and Nisha.
Now, Wilhelm, we know what he's going to become in Borderlands 2.
Something that's really unique about him is you're actually visually changing him. You're unlocking robotic arms, robotic legs.
In the pre-sequel, he starts out fully human, and as you build out his skill tree, he slowly becomes more cybernetic.
And also he has his 2 support drones, which is his special ability. One of them will go out and attack, and then the other one will actually hang behind and recharge Wilhelm's shield.
He's just cool, man. You feel like I'm just cool.
And then we've got Nisha, who's the gunslinger. So she's like sort of Wild West.
Everybody loved Nisha. She was this character that we all regret killing off. Spoiler. Yeah.
So when you meet Nisha, she is a bandit that kills other bandits. She's just worse than Handsome Jack in many ways. Like, she just enjoys strangling puppies.
She's actually just about the most evil character in the entirety of the Borderlands universe, and that's kind of fun.
I know people have been asking, does Nisha have the whip? Well, yes, she has the whip, and it's a long-range melee attack.
So Nisha's action skill is called Showdown, and it allows her to automatically aim at enemies. It gives her a bunch of buffs to a bunch of different things. And then if you iron sight and then quickly switch targets, you get that Clint Eastwood feeling of like bam, 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 and then just sort of sheathing your gun really quickly. It's a thing that you're going to use in every single combat you get into because it's that useful.
So what you're going to see here is during the action skill, any guy you shoot, the bullets will ricochet and hit multiple guys.
So here's some torques.
All right.
So there's more guys here. So can I read some action skill really fast?
Do you have it?
Oh, actually,
down to a key?
it's going pretty cool.
All right, do it.
Okay, that is cool. Okay, I see the ricochet going off. Oh, that is cool. That Torque Queen did not survive that at all.
Athena is a character from the General Nox DLC from Borderlands 1, the 3rd DLC. She was just a cool NPC that fought alongside you and helped you take down a bunch of bad guys.
And we really wanted to explore her story and her difficulty and balance between good and evil, because she's sort of an assassin trying to find her way.
Atlas is completely gone. She is out of money. She's out of food. She needs to take any job she can to get by.
We also have been talking about having a character with a shield for years, but they're not as much fun to play in a video game because you're walking behind this shield moving really slow. We wanted someone who was fast and active and energetic and got into the battle.
So Athena's action skill is the kinetic aspis shield, and it basically works where she puts it in front of her body, and any incoming damage that happens to the shield basically charges up its power.
When you build that skill up, you can get to the point where you can take out 3 or 4 or 5 of those enemies with that shield, and that's just really cool to play with.
Athena's a badass. I just feel like an awesome, ass-kicking superhero when I play Athena.
I definitely see you just come on.
Hit it, and then basically go get close.
Oh, snap. So the disco ball is just doing all the work for me. That's really cool.
For the 4th character, I could tell many stories, but the truth is,
Randy Pitchford, the president of this company, really wanted to play as Claptrap.
Claptrap is a wild character. You know, we know Claptrap, he's been in the series forever. Claptrap is a Hyperion robot, so there's a really interesting set of narrative circumstances that allow him to actually be on Handsome Jack's team in that time between Borderlands 1 and 2. The idea is great, like, hey, wouldn't it be interesting to finally play as Claptrap? But what does that actually mean?
Claptrap's a little bit of, a little bit incompetent, he's a little bit of unpredictable.
And he's kind of an idiot, lovable idiot, but he's kind of an idiot.
I think Hyperion actually labeled it as malware at some point.
His action skill is lunacy. If you don't want to be Claptrap, you definitely want him on your team, because when Claptrap uses his action skill, it affects everybody in the game. And oftentimes for good, but sometimes just weird stuff happens, just goofball stuff, and the whole gameplay changes.
People are kind of telling the story of their experience of playing as Claptrap, and everyone's going to have a completely different story to tell.
Oh, yeah, better come on!
Borderlands is all about building on what's happened before to build a stronger product next time.
A lot of the things that were still kind of lingering that just needed to get out of us after we'd finished Borderlands 2 were able to get into Borderlands the pre-sequel.
In the weapons, it was like, okay, well, what gun fantasy are we not hitting? Because we have the Western fantasy with Jacobs, we have the, American action movie star with Torg.
We want to make people feel like they're having a fresh experience.
You know, it's a big game. You get your money's worth when you play a Borderlands game, and that is a thrill.
Borderlands is all about building on what's happened before to build a stronger product next time.
Like with any Borderlands game, it's a game that you can sort of play with some friends and sort of just hang out and have a fun time with and not take terribly seriously, because it's a game that doesn't take itself all that seriously.
The first rule of drama is put interesting characters together and let them interact. And I think that's one of the things that Borderlands is very good at.
We really want to kind of move the industry forward in a lot of ways.
A lot of the things that were still kind of lingering that just needed to get out of us after we'd finished Borderlands 2 were able to get into Borderlands the pre-sequel.
Between Borderlands 1, we just had a huge number of weapons. And when Borderlands 2 showed up, we said, okay, well, what are we going to do to keep the weapons fresh and interesting? We realized that what we needed to do was diversify them on another level. We needed to make the manufacturers more distinct.
It was like, okay, well, what gun fantasy are we not hitting? We have Torg, and they're all about explosions. They're about feeling like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in an 80s action movie. Tedior is like you're buying guns from Walmart.
How can we make this the cheapest feeling gun possible? When we added the idea that when you reload it, you throw it and it explodes.
Dahl is guns for the career soldier, for the mercenary who wants a really, really reliable gun that doesn't have a lot of recoil. Jacobs is basically guns for cowgirls or cowboys. Molly 1 are guns that are basically all about elemental effects. They're supposed to feel really sleek and sexy and very, very sci-fi.
Vlad stayed the most pure to what it was, which is it's all about rapid fire rate, being the most, just firing a lot of bullets.
We're going to have like some lean, like, Wilhelm, it might be sort of more lasers, Misha maybe more kind of Jacob-style pistols, maybe some kind of benefits there, but we don't want to lock people in. We definitely want to make people feel free to use whatever weapon they feel is going to be most entertaining to use.
I don't know how they managed to get 2 Borderlands games in and not have lasers. The opportunity for us to be the guys that bring lasers to Borderlands, it's awesome.
So laser guns are in and of themselves an entire weapon type.
So there's 4 main manufacturers that have laser weapon types. As you move between the different laser manufacturers, it completely changes the type of weapon. Another one is the traditional Ghostbusters style beam weapon. Dahl is the blaster style, so think of your Star Wars Stormtrooper. Hyperion is more kind of like a railgun, so single shot, high damage, very accurate. And Tedior is kind of like a split beam, kind of like a laser shotgun.
Elemental effects apply to all the weapons, so you can totally get a cryo laser where you're shooting at an ice beam, freezing a guy and shattering him in one go.
Every laser has a different identity, just similar to Borderlands 2. That makes finding new ones an exciting experience.
Our creative director, if we ever have a meeting that isn't about lasers, I think he actually gets a little tear in his eye. He's so excited about lasers whenever we talk about them.
It's really fun for me to play a game where I'm playing a Borderlands game and finding guns that I don't know what they're going to do before I pick them up. It's very entertaining.
Wait, why the hell are we playing this kids game?
Oh, maybe because shut the hell up, Morty!
Fans are probably pretty knowledgeable about Borderlands and post-launch support, and this game's going to be no different.
We're sort of talking a little bit about what else we could do. We want to have some more content-based DLC. We sort of want to. We're still finishing up the game, so we haven't got too deep into that.
But we have had a history of supporting DLC, and I think really badass DLC.
Tiny Tina really showed what you can do with a DLC pack, and we're interested to explore things like that, where we really turn things on their head and just have a lot of fun with what we do with the DLC packs.
There's two things. There's two things that make Borderlands special. And one of them is math. You can figure out fun with math. There's a lot of the design, a lot of the gameplay, a lot of what happens is understanding where the fun is in the numbers.
Borderlands is a surprisingly awesome and successful franchise, and I can say that because I didn't work on the first game. I just really enjoyed it as a player. Even then, I sort of felt like there was something special here. There's something that the guys that made this game latched onto that was just smart as hell and really unpretentious.
One thing I've learned in my career making video games is when you're working with a group of talented people, whatever they're most passionate about, they're going to make it great. One of the most important aspects of the development of this was to let the folks that are creating the game be part of the process. So it was a really interesting collaboration.
It's been interesting. This project has evolved a lot since it's originally started, and people have gotten more excited as we've seen what it's grown into. Then it's like, wow, we're making a full-on real Borderlands game, which is, to people like me who are huge fans of the franchise, it's just really exciting.
It's just great to see the fruits of our labor kind of really coming together. We're just getting to the point where it's really exciting, and we just can't wait to kind of get it out there and see what the public thinks.
My hope is when we've launched Borderlands the pre-sequel, that maybe between our own minds and the people now down in 2K Australia, maybe some new exciting ideas will emerge for the future. And that is thrilling.
It's the passion and the craziness and the freedom of the people who are here, and letting them take this universe and make it their own, every one of them.
You coming?